see that little one right there.
So there's an adult hen lying by the side of the road and then two very sick-looking babies tucked in next to it. And up in the tree here, I can see a chicken that really doesn't look in very good shape. It's got its head kind of floppy and hanging down.
Okay, explain what's going on here, Ruth.
Well, this moment, the death of a few chickens in a remote village in Thailand, might not seem like much to be worried about, but at this point, the clock starts ticking. People in this village are worried that this could be the start of some new disease, which might start off by killing their animals, but could spread to humans. And if that were to happen, the outbreak could become an epidemic, or an even bigger pandemic, spreading around the world and potentially infecting millions of people.
But you were at the scene with those folks who think they can stop this, right?
Yeah, I've met a team of people who have built a network and designed a clever bit of simple technology to identify dead animals and spot potential outbreaks, right at the moment when the germs start to spread.
World
Hacks. You're listening to World Hacks on the BBC World Service. With me, Vincent Lee. This is a program where you can meet the people who are trying to fix the world by coming up with interesting solutions to global problems. And today, we're looking at a problem that has the potential to affect millions of us all around the world: the threat from outbreaks of disease.
Hello again. We're going to start with what's become the worst Ebola epidemic in recorded history, one that's left thousands dead and health officials say could affect 10,000 people every week within the next 2 months.
They are struggling to contain the epidemic. We've gone from 1,000 to 2,000 to 4,000 cases in just the course of a month.
The head of the World Bank has warned the world is dangerously unprepared for global health pandemics. Jim Young Kim said the world needs to learn the lessons from the current Ebola epidemic and be ready for any potential catastrophe in the future. He said governments, corporations and aid agencies need to work together to build a global pandemic facility.
The stakes here are really high. This is about saving lives, preventing the spread of deadly diseases like Ebola, SARS, Zika and swine flu. Many of these diseases have their origins in animals, and if viruses mutate and start to spread from person to person, we could have a global pandemic to deal with. My colleague Ruth Evans has just come back from Southeast Asia, which is a hotbed for these kinds of diseases.
Yes, pandemics often originate in places where there is close contact between animals and people, making it easy for animal diseases to spill over into humans, and where health systems may not be able to pick up on threats and respond quickly. In rural Thailand, where I've been, 75% of people keep animals in their back gardens, making it hard to keep track of outbreaks of disease.
Indeed, and disease control experts say epidemics have the potential to spread faster and turn into pandemics because of increased international travel, growing populations and environmental damage. The Gates Foundation, for example, said a virulent strain of airborne influenza virus could spread to every global capital in just 60 days. Now, this means that time is absolutely critical. The time between the outbreak starting and the authorities spotting it and responding to it could mean the difference between the local health scare and a potentially global problem.
Exactly, which is why the project I've been to see in northern Thailand has got international experts so excited, because it allows scientists to spot potentially dangerous outbreaks immediately and stop them before they spread. A small team have developed an app which empowers a network of local volunteers to report signs of sickness that could indicate an outbreak by taking photos of dead animals. These two guys are the people fixing the world we're meeting this week.
We don't have good systems in the developing world to detect something abnormal, a new pathogen which can transfer to human, and response to stop immediately. So if we can create such a system by detecting immediately, not let them spread from animal population and then jumping to human population, that means we can help the world prevent pandemic.
Dr. Lertrak Sikitchakan is a vet working for Chiang Mai University. He's a wiry, energetic man in his 60s who has spent his whole career working with rural communities, investigating outbreaks of disease and helping keep their animals healthy. He knew that the secret to containing outbreaks was to involve these communities, but he needed a way to connect them with the authorities to make sense of these reports. He needed someone from the world of tech, and at a conference in San Francisco, he met a young Thai programmer.
I myself as an engineer, but I tend to have a hacker's mind to see how technology, like very simple technology, could be impactful to the people in rural communities.
That's Patipat Sasampao. Like many Thais, he mostly goes by a nickname. His is Keng. And with his sweeping hair and his black framed glasses, and his habit of opening his laptop to code in any spare moment, he is exactly what you'd expect of someone running a Bangkok tech company.
I used to thought that humans are immortal. Not kind of immortal, but by technological advance, we can do anything we want. And suddenly my wife was one day very sick, high fever, so she was hospitalized and diagnosed as H1N1 swine flu. And then she was hospitalized for like a week and almost died. And I was like, how can that happen? Like, we couldn't trace back where we have been exposed to this kind of infection. And that's the first thing that I think, oh, we are so fragile. We can be eradicated in no time by unseen enemies. Disease is a ghost.
And that realization led him to focus on pandemic prevention.
We want to find a way, how can we know this faster or even before it happens. And that motivates me and my wife support me on this, that we should focus on this and put our engineering mind into this. How can we help the people in this field work better? And this is about how can we bring human connections all together and detect the disease faster. This is the only way possible right now that we can save humanity from the disease.
Lurtrak and Keng's scheme is called PODD, which stands for Participatory One Health Disease Detection.
Oof, that's quite a mouthful.
Well, it's better in Thai.
PODD originates from the Northern Thai dialect. It means look closely and you will see.
And that's what they're asking ordinary villagers to do. They say PODD turns them into disease detectives.
This is like, let's say, poor man Instagram. Basically, you started with a photo because we want to see things that happen in the field.
They've recruited an army of volunteers. Some are farmers, but some are mechanics or housewives, and they just come across cases on their daily commute, or they hear about sick animals through village gossip. They are given smartphones and taught how to recognize sickness in their animals or their communities. And if they see something worrying, they take a photo and the app guides them through recording the symptoms.
After the photo, it's like visual inspection. What do they see? Everything that they can see, they can put in the form.
So they add in all the details that the vets might need.
Be a little bit more specific, like what kind of chicken is this? How old are they? How many chicken die?
And more importantly, how many chickens nearby are infected.
Really simple. It could take like 3 or 4 minutes and they submit.
And the PODD app records the location of the potential outbreak.
When they take the photos, we will gather GPS coordination, embed that into the pictures so we can know exactly where these pictures have been taken.
And then all this information goes in real time to the team of vets and researchers at the PODD epicenter in the nearest big city, Chiang Mai. There they verify cases and map them, allowing them to spot patterns.
And if there's another cases happen and it's related to original case, you can like link all the cases together so you can see the bigger picture on what happened as you never seen before, because previously the report has been scattered and some of the reports never been reported before. But this time you see like the bigger picture what happened in the community in real time.
So that's the theory, but I wanted to see it in practice. We went with Keng to meet some of the volunteers. He sees them as the eyes and ears of the project. But while we were on the road, an alert came in, and the team thought it sounded serious, so we had to get there quickly. So we were just making our way to a village to go and meet some of the PODD volunteers, but an alert's just come in.
It seems like 20 chickens die, and we are verifying if it's. So in the photo that volunteer sent is like 4 black chickens lying on the ground, apparently dead. Yeah, we are calling to the volunteer to verify if it's spreading or how the situation looks like.
And so do you know this volunteer? Is this someone who's reported before?
Yeah, it's also, hold on.
So now Toy and Kang and the other members of the PODD team trying to verify the case. It's in a village in the south of Chiang Mai. And they're quite concerned because of the high number.
Yeah, number of the chicken is quite high.
So you're just checking, you've got the alerts coming in on your phone in real time?
Yes. The symptom is feces, white feces, diarrhea, and difficult to breathe.
Okay.
Sudden death, they said. The chicken dead 20 from the total of 20. So they die all.
So we're weaving our way up into the mountains now. Up a really long, windy road. And we're heading for the village where the chickens were found. You can tell we're getting really high up because my ears are just popped.
The village that we are going to is in the back of this mountain, the highest mountain in Thailand. It's about 2.5 kilometers from the sea level.
We drove for about 4 hours in a van with the PODD vets and Kang. And as we travelled, their phones were pinging with alerts, updates on the case. You'll also hear our translator Rin, who was with me. So we come to a small village called Pung. There are lots of chickens running around, dogs running around, and lots of children, I think, have just got back from school. We come here to meet Mr. Siwan. He's a PODD volunteer, and he found something really worrying this morning.
This morning at around 6 a.m. I was informed by the head of the village that there's a chicken die. So I came and checked and asked the volunteer of PODD. I took photo and reported to the PODD application. People are shocked because there's a lot of chicken die and they're afraid that the disease might be carried on to other places. The worry about that might be something new, some new disease that infected from animal to humans.
There are so many animals running around here, wild birds, as well as people's chickens. So if this does turn out to be serious, you can see how easily it would spread. Mr. Siwan's leading us to a bank by the side of the road, and he found one of the chickens here. Oh, I can smell it already. There's a really putrid smell in the air.
This one looks dead. It's barely breathing, probably dead by now. It's probably died at least within an hour. And you see that little one right there.
So there's an adult hen lying by the side of the road and then 2 very sick-looking babies tucked in next to it. And up in the tree here, I can see a chicken that really doesn't look in very good shape. It's got its head kind of floppy and hanging down.
Normally chicken will sleep on the tree, but he's sick, so he cannot get down. He probably drop to the ground soon. So poor.
So the owners just brought the chicken down so that PODD can take a sample. Oh, and the farmer's bringing out another one now. So 2 of the vets from the PODD team just getting hold of the chickens. They were in protective masks and gloves, and they're taking blood samples just underneath their wing. For Mr. Siwan and the rest of the villagers, any signs of sickness are a reminder of what happened in 2004. Bird flu swept through Thailand, including this village, as well as Vietnam, Cambodia and Indonesia, infecting more than 125 people who'd had direct contact with poultry. It killed around half of the people infected.
แต่ว่าทุกวันนี้เหมือนเธอว่าโรค
When the bird flu happened, people were so scared. But right now, you see like that new disease happening all the time, like Ebola. So for the outbreak, potential outbreak now, what I want to see is the villagers try to quarantine whatever the disease is in this village so that it won't spread outside. I don't want to see it to become something like the bird flu because bird flu have the whole impact on the world.
Hello,
Hi,
welcome
Professor.
to PODD.
Thank you. Once I was back from Mr. Siwan's village, I went to the epicenter of PODD, where Lertrak was analysing the photos and the report.
First of all, is very high mortality, and this can be many diseases, including avian influenza. And if it's avian influenza, it can contract people.
The results of the chicken's blood test won't come in for a week, but the team aren't taking any chances. Information is sent immediately to all surrounding villages so a quarantine plan can be put in place. So we're looking at a map here, and there's red pins in some areas showing the kind of ground zero, is that right?
The red pin is the village where the outbreak or suspected outbreak occur. Surrounding 3 kilometers will be yellow color. The surroundings further 7 kilometers will be green color.
Okay.
The buffer zone. Each village in the zone will be informed to use their contingency plan to prevent or control the outbreak. Normally, the dead animal will be buried or burned. There will be a continually surveillance until 3 weeks after the last dead or sixth animal were found.
I leave the vets testing blood samples and monitoring for alerts, with reports coming in daily from their network of disease detectives. After spending 3 days with the team, I'm pretty sure that if any new cases emerge in their area, they'd spot them and swoop in to deal with them very quickly.
You're listening to World Hacks on the BBC World Service. We were just talking about a network of volunteers in Thailand who might just stop a disease from becoming a pandemic. So Ruth, I've got a question here. What is the incentive for reporting these cases? I think in a lot of places people will just deliberately hide their animals if they think they will be cold, right?
Well, the PODD team have managed to convince people it's in their interest to report these cases. Another woman I met reported a suspected outbreak in her village, and she got free treatment for her sick chickens, and the vaccinations saved some of her flock.
But why do these volunteers sign up for this scheme? Was it a case of, I'm just getting a bit skeptical here, was it a case of getting a free smartphone?
Well, I wondered about this too, but lots of people already have them, and the volunteers I spoke to, like Mr. Siwan, seem most concerned about how to protect their communities and their loved ones from potential diseases.
I'm really proud to be part of their PODD team because at least I can help the villagers in terms of taking care of their livestock and animals.
But is it working though? I mean, do we have any evidence to suggest these dead chicken photos are actually stopping wider outbreaks of disease?
Well, they started with volunteers in only 300 villages, and there are thousands of them across Chiang Mai.
Wow.
But in the first few months, they'd received more reports than the authorities had had for the whole province the previous year. And in the first 2 years, they detected 60 outbreaks, which they consider dangerous, and about half of these involved chickens, although they've also dealt with things like foot and mouth disease in cattle.
That sounds pretty successful. But if PODD are giving volunteers smartphones to use, this must be costing quite a lot, right?
Well, the pilot project cost $2 million, and they got a grant from the Skoll Global Threat Fund. That's a Californian foundation set up by the former president of eBay, Jeff Skoll, and they focus on solving what they see as the world's most pressing problems like climate change, water security, and pandemics. And this organisation thinks that PODD has been so successful, they funded it for another 2 years, so it can be rolled out in other provinces of Thailand, which the Thai government is going to help with.
So clearly Thailand has the infrastructure that helps PODD work, which is a system of livestock officers and public health officials who could respond if there was a serious outbreak. And I think crucially, they also have enough mobile phone coverage and perhaps free Wi-Fi to allow the reporting system to work. But a lot of countries don't have that, do they? I mean, my question is, how much can this program be extended to, say, rural Africa?
Well, it does rely on connectivity. So the app allows the volunteers to draft reports offline. They can take a photo and fill in the form wherever they are, and then it uploads to the PODD system as soon as they're connected. But they do eventually need Wi-Fi or data to do this. But despite these constraints, other countries are interested in using the PODD app. So officials from Indonesia want to use it to control rabies. And a similar model is already being used in Tanzania and has spotted cases of malaria, typhoid, cholera and rabies in humans, and foot-and-mouth disease and anthrax in livestock.
This is, I think, the first system that proved effective to prevent pandemic. We are proud of helping the world. The knowledge is not a complex knowledge, it's a simple knowledge, and we can use it to detect and prevent pandemic.
One last thing. Remember all those dying chickens falling out of the trees? I wanted to find out what had been going on. After I got back to the UK, I called LurtTrack to hear about the results.
From the laboratory findings, we conclude that it was the bacterial infection. The serious one is the one which can contract human. And this bacterial infection is always happen in the backyard frog.
There was no chance of it transferring to humans?
No. We still keep close surveillance in that village. Right now, we are worried and we are look very close to this abnormal high mortality because we need to remain on guard against avian influenza, protecting ourselves.
So this time, it wasn't the start of something sinister. But if they had found something worrying or something entirely new, they'd have been able to contain and control it much faster than if the volunteers hadn't been in place.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Ruth. And that's it for World Hacks this week. If you like our program, don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're on BBC World Hacks. Oh, you can also find us on podcast. Just type in People Fixing the World. I'm Vincent Lee, here with the team. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.